please hit subscribe and change it to past tense. Hi Speechies, it's Lisa. Welcome back to Speechfairies. Today I'm going over some of the sequencing materials that I have, and I want to talk a little bit about how and why I target sequencing. The main why is it's on goal sheets, and as you know, I'm a speech language therapy assistant. Speech language pathologists refer clients to me to be seen for therapy, and at that point it's kind of up to me to come up with my own therapy materials to work on those goals. The bigger why of why we target sequencing is more about kind of developing a more fluent language for children, starting to help them connect their thoughts together, and to prepare them for some early storytelling. This is an area of interest for me because I have just completed my master's in literacy education, and I'm very passionate about literacy and everything involved in it. So the first set of puzzles I have here are from Learning Resources. They are sequencing puzzle cards. There's a set of 10, ages 3 and up. Again, Learning Resources, and you can see on the back that there's kind of girls and boys doing different actions and steps, and these are self-correcting, self-checking puzzle cards. So you can practice sequencing with real photos and real everyday routines, so kids can relate to the steps. So here's our little friend who is setting up to brush his teeth. So I will model, or first the little boy gets his toothbrush, and then he puts toothpaste on it, and then he brushes his teeth. So that's how I would kind of set up the story, and I would ask for a retell at first. So you tell me the story. So I tell the story first and give you the idea, and then you can copy me and tell the story. And then there's another one on the back, the little girl making lemonade. So first she gets some lemons, then she squeezes them into the jug, and then she mixes the lemonade, and last she drinks the lemonade. So you can work on third person singular, you can work on past tense, you can work on your pronouns, and lots of action words and everyday routines. If I'm working with a group, then I give each child a puzzle and then ask them to tell me the story or retell the story depending on what step I'm at. And then I make sure to have something reinforcing so that they can, take a turn in a game, or they get 3 pieces for like an activity like Pop-Up Pirate or something like that. So you can make it fun and rewarding at the same time, because just telling these stories by themselves can get a little boring. The main skill here is to kind of link these ideas. This is the same little boy doing steps in a sequence. So some of my kiddos will look at this and say there's 3 boys. So we have to kind of teach them it's the same boy, and he's doing some different steps. So I do have a couple other different ones I'm just going to show you. So this one's from Learning Resources. You can see this ages 3 and up. This one has kind of more cartoony little pictures, and there are 5 steps, so this is a little bit harder. But again, reasonable steps and self-correcting. So they have them at ages 3 and up. Here's another one. You can see I got it for 50 cents. These are just 3 sets. It says pairs, but it's not. It's sets of 3. First the egg, then comes the baby chicken, then comes the big chicken. So there's no actions in here, just the steps. And same with the caterpillar, and same with the building of the house. So this is more procedural. So here's another example, match it from the learning journey. These ones are at Toys R Us, I think. So you can see there's like, first comes the apples, then we can cut up the apples and make an apple pie. So there's a lot happening in these in-between steps here, but we're just showing the basics. These have some kind of embedded concepts as well. For some kids, I'll use something like this, the 1, 2, 3, or there's also an A, B, C, just to kind of get them the idea that there's steps involved, and they do self-correct, so they can't get it wrong, but that we're looking at kind of things in sequence. I most often use the word first, then last. or first, then, and then, implying that there could be something afterwards. I like to leave it open. I don't make kids say last or next or then. I just model it until they start to use those words too. And those are called temporal conjunctions. I also wanted to point out that the puzzles, try to make sure that they're relatable. If a child lives in an apartment or something, they may not have built a snowman before, or it's summer and they forget all the steps that are required to make a snowman in the winter time. So just to make sure that the things you're telling stories about are relatable and interesting. So I have like 4 sets of self-correcting ones. Those are the easiest. So I'm piling them over here. The next one I want to show you are ones that don't fit together like a puzzle. They are just cards. So I'll show you what that looks like. This one is from Carson DeLosa Publishing. I'm going to show you this one because this looks like my dog, Mr. Muggs. If you're not following my dog's channel, or my Instagram for my dog, his name is Mr. Muggs, and his Instagram is Mr. Muggs Sheepadoodle. Side note. So these ones you can see they could potentially go in the wrong order. So first the boy gets a stick, and then he throws it, so you have to kind of put it that one second, and then the dog brings it back. So this one you have to make sure that kids are paying attention to those fine little details, and that's where the errors are often made, is they might not really understand that the throwing comes before the bringing back. So we have to have a conversation about this often. Do we throw it first, or does he bring it back first? So that's just an error in understanding there. So this one requires a little bit more prompting to get them in the right order. Often, if I'm working expressively and it's just a retell task, I will be saying things like, or I will tell the story first, and they just have to copy as much as they can. But understanding is always a key step, which you probably already know. If the kids can see that you see as well what's going on in these pictures, they may not provide as much detail as they would if you had like a barrier or something. So if you want a little bit more detail, then you might want to put up a barrier to get kids to use more language. So I don't insist on a lot of detail with the age group that I'm working out with, but you can work on, oh, tell me more what you see in the pictures. I also wanted to show on the back of these, it has like a little kind of graphic to help you kind of check your answer, and also find the matching set in the box. If you're looking for a more portable solution, we have the sequencing deck from Super Duper, and I use this one all the time. This one is still sealed, so I can open that up for you just to show you what the cards look like. The one I use is at work, so I haven't had to open mine yet. I'm very familiar with these stories. So it does come with an introduction to sequencing, some different games you can play. So these do have the numbers just to help guide you which ones go together. So that apple story is number 1, that cat story is number 2. And I'll use language like that, say, oh, do you want to do the cat story or the apple story? And give kids a choice, and it gives them a little bit more control. I think the old cards we have at work have like ABC on them, which I don't like 1A, 1B, 1C, and then kids just have to look at that to get them in the right order. So I think this is a newer set, so they've actually fixed that mistake. You can see they're nice and simple, glossy. I like sometimes when the subject changes, like the bear is an important part of the story. So if they say, oh, first he sees a hive and then he gets the honey and then the bees chase him, I'll be like, oh, is that story about a boy? And they'll say, no, it's about a bear. So I make sure that they get their subject in that first frame. So there's lots of little kids doing things that they can relate to. Some harder ones in there too, that harder to relate to. But still make a good story. There's that snowman one again. So again, a lot of prompting to get them in the right order and to use all their words to tell us a little mini story there. This is another deck I picked up, Let's Predict. It's also a fun deck app. So you can check out superduperinc.com. So I have never opened this one, so let's have a look. Oh, this is about telling what might happen next. So first, the cat is looking in the bowl. What do you think is going to happen next? So that one is using your little imagination there sometimes. So there's a question and we're thinking about it. So, oh, that cat is stuck in the tree. What do you think will happen next? You could use something like this after you've used the other sequencing deck. Oh, he's making something. What do you think he's making? It's good for us sentence starters, topic starters. Oh, the phone is ringing. What do you think is going to happen next? Uh-oh. There's some silly ones in there too. So obviously a 2-step cause effect will happen before a 3-step. I usually start with 3, but this is a little bit higher because it's decontextualized. There is no answer. It's wide open. Okay, so we've done our self-correcting, our 3-set symbols. After that, I get into some longer stories with some of the older kids. So these are all 2 to 3 scenes. So we've got 6 scene stories. So same concept. It is really hard to get these in order. You have to really pay attention to detail. So these will be used with a little bit older kids. This one's from Carson DeLusa. Actually, this one says Frank Schaefer. And this one is Carson DeLusa. There it is. Learning to sequence. This one says it's self-checking. I don't want to know why. Self-checking means you could flip over the pieces and it will make a picture. So it can come in handy, but just to check if kids are playing alone, which is not my favorite. I would rather an adult be there to support the learning. My goal is never for kids to memorize how these stories go, and then like when I'm looking, get them in the right order. That's never the goal. I want to kind of support their thinking at every step so that they are successful with kind of thinking it out. You have to be able to talk it out before you can think it out. So these are important for developmental, to have somebody around to support. Okay, the last few sets I have are ones that I used when I worked at the school board before I came to preschool, so I don't use them anymore, but I want to show them all the same. This one's ages 4 to 8. An imaginative memory and storytelling game. This one, the only game component, pulling them out of a bag and deciding if they're part of your story or someone else's story. So you can see there's 4 different stories. They're just longer stories. It says 1 to 5 players, ages 4 to 8. And this is the one I used a lot in the school board, the never-ending stories. This one is from Discovery Toys. The other one is from Ravensburger. So we have like a little bag that you kind of keep your pieces in. But essentially it's like a board that has like a big giant honeycomb on it. And we start from the middle and work our way out like a story web. So it did come with its own pictures, and then I think I made some too to go with it to kind of add different story elements. So one player would pull that out and say, like, once upon a time there was an empty boat by the shore, and then a woman came swimming along, and they can just kind of link the story together and make a big web based on whether they're pulling a person, place, or thing. And I don't know if there's actions. Yeah, there's some little actions. Hiding. This can be the hardest part, is kind of, they think it's a new character adding to the story, but it's not. It's just an action. So some kids have trouble with that. So these are the ones that came with it, and these are the ones that I made. So I just added a few extra objects. So there's the bus, a cat, a sticker, so I added some stickers. These are the ones that came with it. These ones depict emotion. And then these are the ones that I just added. So we can make our own stories. And then I have some blank ones, in case someone has an idea that I hadn't thought of. This one says it was made in England in 1992. The only other one I brought today is this Crayola Story Creator. And this is when you can record your voice and you can do the coloring as well. So kind of a good opportunity for practicing story retell. And that one's ages 5 and up. So that is just how I work on sequencing. If I've forgotten anything, you can always comment down below your thoughts, how you work on sequencing. The main reason is we're just trying to get kids to link their thoughts together and become more conversational. We want kids to be able to share their personal experiences with some detail. They have to be able to be good oral storytellers first before they're able to write down their stories when they get into those higher grades. If you liked this video, please give us a thumbs up. Comment down below your thoughts on sequencing or questions. I can answer questions too using that comment section. I am a bit of a thrifter, so some of the products are older, as you know, and predate me working with preschoolers, like that 1992 Never-Ending Stories. I know they did come out with like a Dora version of this, like maybe in the early 2000s, so other versions of them do pop up. And there's lots of sequencing stories on the web. So you can type in sequencing stories, printable, free, and get a bunch of stuff. And then you can just make the cards yourselves. Please consider subscribing to our channel. There's lots more content coming your way. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you very soon. Bye for now, everyone.